heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Guys, should we talk Superman?
Eric, I think that sounds swell.
Who says swell these days? Come on.
By golly, what's wrong with saying swell? I think it's just a gol darn good word.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a little naked boy.
Does Eric know what he does to me when we're together? How he makes me feel? Can he read my mind? I'm quivering.
Ooh, boy. Okay, we're talking Superman 1978 on the Pot of Dreams.
From a doomed planet in a distant galaxy to a fantastic underground hideaway, from the Fortress of Solitude to the bustling city room of the Daily Planet. Look, up on the screen. It's Superman. Superman, the movie.
Oh, they got dirty.
Just quoting the movie. I don't know what you're talking about. This is, just referencing a particular scene that happened.
Okay, thank you all for listening to the Pot of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. Ben, Kevin, and Eric talking movies, and I picked Superman from 1978, the OG original superhero movie. I picked it because there's a Superman movie coming out, and because it has the recently departed Gene Hackman, who I guess I didn't remember that he just has random wigs and they never explain why he has different hair in every scene. I found that funny.
Well, it's because he didn't want to shave his head. Lex Luthor is famously bald.
But not, if you had just watched this movie and you didn't, okay, I have several questions about the iconography of Superman, because I have all these images and ideas in my head that are what Superman means to me, and I don't know where it all came from. So when you say Lex Luthor was famously bald, is that because in the sequel he's bald, or in the comics he was bald? I guess
in the comics, in the comic books.
And then there was the cartoon, right? Or the the Action Comics cartoon that was pretty big, right? I remember watching that growing up.
I don't know. There was a really old
can leap tall buildings in a single bound and all that.
That's the 40s or 50s when that came out. Is what you're talking about?
Yeah, that played before.
Faster than a locomotive.
Right. Yeah.
Leap tall buildings in a single bound. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's that one.
Right.
That's what you're okay. You watched that a bunch?
Oh yeah, I remember going to the library and renting it.
What?
On tape.
Whoa. Okay, I remember one. I don't remember where I saw it. Maybe it was on a tape as well. But there was just one where somebody has a death ray and Superman is beating it back.
There were short reels. Yeah, they weren't it wasn't episodes, but they were just
it was 10 minutes or something. I remember it not being long.
Are you guys talking about live action or a cartoon?
An old cartoon.
It was a cartoon,
from the 40s or 50s.
Oh, okay.
Long time ago. Maybe, I don't know the exact time frame, but I know what Eric's talking about. I don't remember it being around. I said I remember I somehow saw one multiple times, one snippet. They might have been before movie, it might have been things that played at the movies before the main.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, a serial cartoon.
Just here you go, and you're going to see some cartoons before, and then you're going to see your actual movie. Anyway, you've not even heard of this, Kevin?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay.
I remember serials starring George Reeves.
1941. Yeah, Superman animated series from the 40s.
Oh.
Yeah, Fleischer Studios. So I must have had a tape that had them all on it or something.
Somewhere in St. Paul. What rental store was this?
The St. Paul Public Library, motherfucker. That's where it was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I knew a lot of Superman, and then we watched this movie all the time. We had this on tape. I literally think we wore out the tape from watching it too much. But I had not seen it. I honestly haven't seen this movie since I was a kid. So it's kind of a weird what you remember, what you don't remember, kind of deal. But I think this movie's great. This is a fucking awesome superhero movie, and I'll tell you the thing I love the most about it is like it showed him being a superhero. Like that's the thing we miss so much in recent modern superhero movies. They don't show them being superheroes at all. Like the first Iron Man, like when he gets his suit and he flies and he's like fighting Al Qaeda, like being a superhero, that was cool. And this movie, the montage where he's saving people, and I don't know, I really loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the movie's strengths. It's deeply non-cynical, in a way that superhero movies aren't so much anymore. Even Marvel tries to be a little bit edgy, and he's just like a cornball good guy. I mean, that's it. He's truth,
justice, and the American way.
He's just the real deal. No ifs, ands, or buts. And we see him saving the day a bunch, and then it's amazing how slow this movie is. It's another strength of the movie is it takes its sweet ass time.
Oh, it's an hour before you see Superman.
Yeah, it's slow as hell. I feel like modern audiences couldn't stand how slow this movie is, but I like that it takes its time. It spends 15 minutes on Krypton with this goofy 70s sci-fi aluminum foil special effects that I think are corny, but I love. We get Marlon Brando I don't know what that is. It they use the negative. Do anybody know enough about filmmaking to know what that lighting was at the beginning when Krypton collapses? They do the weird visual effects, how they do that.
I don't know. I assume it was like some sort of liquid
Reverse.
I don't know. Looks
I
cool
assumed
as
it was.
though.
I assumed it was CGI.
Yes, computer graphics. Yeah, it's AI. I think AI.
Really awful CGI.
I mean the way this movie opens with this like big giant dome thing that like lifts up, the models they use.
Well, the real opening, it starts off with like a kid reading a comic book, Eric. Which
I didn't
thought was
understand
pathetic
that.
and childish and annoying. Come on, we're grown men. We don't need to see kids looking at comic books. Come on.
I actually didn't like that either. It's like, come on. But then like where it's the John Williams score kicks in and it has like the lettering like flying at you. It's like, holy shit, this is insane. Yeah.
Oh, well,
and that goes on for about 15 minutes. So
the credits are slow.
Yeah.
We meet these characters who most of them don't have names and they die. We see the villains who won't come around till the second movie. We have a little scene with them. They're not going to matter at all.
I totally forgot that. I was like, wait, so like Zod is not in this movie? And like, oh shit, that's right. He doesn't come until the second one.
Yeah, I always mix up 1 and 2 because it is weird because they get captured in this one. But take a minute, they flow away.
So apparently, anybody out there, I recommend reading the Wikipedia page on this movie because there's like so much crazy shit about the making of this movie and like the people they offered to be Superman. But apparently it was supposed to be one movie. It was like a 2-movie. They wrote the scripts all at the same time. Donner was hired to be the director of both movies, and Reeve was hired to be in both. So it was like all supposed to be essentially like a 2-part movie.
And that makes sense. A lot of this feels like setup. I mean, really, when you think about in terms of like
it
what
also
it's
just
doing
kind of
narratively.
ends too. It just like ends like, I know he saves everybody and stops everything and brings Lois back to life, but then it's just like over. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It ends. It feels abrupt. It does feel like really we're just introducing this character to set up something later. I mean, it does feel like incomplete. Like, it just doesn't quite feel self-contained. It's like we're just going to take our time and introduce all these characters and their relationships. Because even like Superman and Lois's relationship, like, okay, they have a really intimate flying sequence, but then, I mean, they don't officially become a couple or anything. It's just they're kind of courting each other at this stage, or Superman's courting her.
You wanted more trembling, or
no? I didn't want more trembling. I'm saying there's no resolution to that narrative arc, right? There's not. He doesn't decide not to be with her or to be with her, but it's in its infancy.
Well, it's the age-old argument. If he bones Lois, he's super jizz is gonna. That would, the thrust would be too much for Lois.
Well,
right?
it looks like he can control his abilities. I assume he can make himself ejaculate at normal male levels, but I don't know. How does Stanley answer that question? This is Mallrats, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember how Stanley answers it or if he even acknowledges it. No,
I don't remember that.
But I just there's not like a through line. It's just here comes his big entrance. He does some good stuff, and then very suddenly at the last second, basically stops Lex Luthor's plane. But is this movie really a comedy more than anything else?
It's campy. I don't know, Kevin. What do you think?
I don't think it's a comedy. It has some funny moments. It plays up Ned Beatty really well in a comedic role, and I think Gene Hackman really pops. But as a comedy, I mean, it's an adventure movie. It's action. It's a superhero movie.
Funny moments. It's like how is Guardians of the Galaxy a comedy? You know,
Maybe, but this one movie is I think just more continuously goofy throughout most of the movie. It just
there's the bumbling Clark Kent in it. He's more bumbling than in other iterations of Clark Kent.
Well, and you see him the first time he does the change to save Lois in the chopper. There's pimps waiting outside. Yeah. Oh hell, I like that outfit, or whatever the hell they say, right? Got a little comedy punctuation right there in that moment. And then, of course, all the constant one-liners and the cops being confused and astounded the whole time. Everybody just kind of being flabbergasted. I know even the whole Lex Luthor and Ned Beatty relationship is just like it's so goofy. Like Lex Luthor's supposed to be the scary bad guy, but he's also just sitting underneath the subway in a abandoned underground section with one moron and one woman who doesn't even really like him, who are his accomplices. I don't know. I
think that's the worst part of the movie is the Lex Luthor Beatty, like Miss Tessmacher. Like what are they doing? Why? What is happening? Doesn't make any sense.
It's not threatening. It's the thing. He's just not threatening. He's just constantly annoyed with his inept, like, crony.
Oh, I liked how he wasn't into world domination. He just had this real estate scheme going on. I thought that made it more interesting.
I guess. Why he could?
Yeah, that he wasn't trying to explode the planet and he's just trying to make some money.
But he couldn't find another way to make money, and he has to rely on this idiot to help him change the trajectory of 2 nuclear weapons.
Well, he I don't know. He does it. He succeeds. Aside from,
and even the scene. So here's where it gets crazy, right? So they're trying to get the nuclear weapons, and they have his girlfriend ostensibly, or whatever kind of relationship they have. I don't know what his relationship is, and I can't remember the gal's name. Moneypenny, whatever.
Tessmacher.
Okay.
Tessmacher Peaks. That's where I wanted to live.
He builds a remote control, full-size remote control car, crashes it, and has her pretend to be a victim laying there. And we get a bunch of military guys looking at the situation. The commander's she needs chest compressions and mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
He rapes
he's like,
her.
I'll do it.
It's a joke about rape. He has them look away, and he basically sexually assaults her. And that's supposed to be comedic in the middle of the villain's big evil plan. And then, of course, Ned Beatty he fucks up the missiles. He gets 2 of them right and then fucks up the other 2, I guess. I don't know. It's goofy. It's just consistently, especially the villains. But even then, I think the movie's just so goofy that there's no dramatic tension for me at almost any point. I've seen this movie probably 3 times, not as many as you, but this is the 4th time. I don't know.
You did not like it. You didn't care for it.
I didn't say anything about not liking it. I said I just felt like it was a comedy. You're misunderstanding me. It doesn't have to. It wasn't much of an adventure. There wasn't a lot of adventure that happened in here, I don't think. We don't have. He saves a few people on that one night where he reveals himself. then he has a date with Lois Lane, basically.
I
as
thought
Superman.
that scene was really cool where they fly around and
Oh, it's a great scene, but it's not an adventure. It's a love scene.
No. It's
overtly sexual. He's like, she's, what color are my underwear? And then we reveal the lead, but then he tells her it's pink. Like, it's flirty and racy, but it's not an adventure. And then here we go. It's time for the big master plan, which is these 2 missiles are going to go, and he's got to save the day after all the kryptonite reveal.
which is like, you know what's kind of funny is it's basically what the Joker does in The Dark Knight, where he's got like, you can save this one or this one, and yeah. I mean, it was more of an accident, I think, in this movie, but I just found that interesting.
Oh yeah,
and then his love interest dies because of the choice he makes. Yeah,
no, there's a consequence, and then he's able to travel back in time, which begs the question: why not go back and stop both missiles? I don't know. Maybe it was exhausting to go back however far he went back, 5 minutes or whatever it was. Yeah, I guess that's his maximum. No, I just felt it was goofy. I mean, I had no adventure in this. The movie wasn't an adventure to me. This was a character introduction. This could have been an extended pilot of a TV show from my vantage point. I mean, there wasn't a ton of adventure because there were stakes, but it was all abrupt and there's not pacing. There's cool visual effects, but it was just goofy. I had fun, but I wasn't like, man, this is an action movie. But there just wasn't much.
I mean, there are big set pieces that there was the Golden Gate Bridge. There was.
Yeah, I mean, does Spider-Man 1 have an adventure? It's him getting his powers and he saves a few people. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same sort of setup for most origin stories.
Well, I mean, there are action sequences. He fights Green Goblin more than once, and there's actual, like, fighting. This is a different kind of movie because he's Superman. Lex Luthor can't match him physically.
Well, I think that's what makes it great. Is we don't need to see Superman fighting like a big giant fucking monster.
I didn't say that either. I didn't say it has to be an action adventure. I just think this movie's a comedy. My whole point is I think this movie's a comedy that I enjoyed and had fun with. I just don't think it was an action adventure. I think there was more action in the first Spider-Man movie, but there's also a ton of, like, you can see the DNA from this movie that went out, like the saving sequences in those Sam Raimi superhero Spider-Man movies are there. You can see, these little bits and pieces that would go on to be in later superhero movies. I didn't say I want that. I said it's just a comedy. It's silly.
The iconography of it, like I never need to see Superman. Like, you know, there's the scene with Kevin Costner where he fucking tornado and he's like, "Don't save me." Or like, what? Why would you not save him? You know. But like, this movie,
I would pick my dad over my dog, right? Like, that's so dumb. Right. Don't
do both. Like you're Superman. Like, fucking save them all.
Instead, the dad goes in to save the dog at his own life. Like, yes, it's the worst possible outcome.
But
it's so stupid.
Like, this movie has, I think, the perfect setup where it's like his dad dies from a heart attack, and he said all these powers, all the strength, I can't even save my own dad. Like, I think that's cool and like sad and so well done. Like, I hope. But I never need to see that again in a Superman movie. You know, like, I don't need to see Clark Kent land in fucking Kansas and be raised by
naked, coming naked out of the spaceship.
See another naked little boy. I really don't need to see that.
Okay,
full frontal naked little boy.
It was a weird choice. Why not just give him a Speedo or something? Give him something. Or why? Why did they do that?
Because it's the 70s.
Then he lifts the car.
Sure. The lifting the car makes sense. Oh, look, this kid's different. Okay. I guess we are going to take it. But he didn't have to be naked. That was a weird choice.
You haven't really said much about it.
Well, what I thought was a weird choice was when he saves the cat from the tree and he gives the cat to the little girl, and the little girl's like, Mama, this man came and saved cat. And then she gets slapped for it. I don't know if you guys noticed that part of it.
The girl gets slapped?
Yeah, the girl. I
don't remember that part.
You hear a slapping sound from the moms.
Dude, that's a comedy beat. Okay. Like he saves the cat, but then the girl gets a slap because of it. Like,
I think that's dark. I don't think
dark.
That's...
It's a dark comedy, but it's a comedy beat. Like,
Okay,
Yeah, I just
Superman's
think-
a dark comedy.
I just think it's a comic book movie. Comic books were notorious for having comedy in it. So I think that's just kind of weaved into this movie, that tone.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's like a not serious movie. You know,
Oh, it's deeply not serious. Even the flying sequences. I mean, it's like they're overtly doing Peter Pan. She's dressed like Wendy from like the Disney Peter Pan, and they're flying like Peter Pan.
And
just
she was
that-
supposed to sing what you said, the part where she's
Can he read my
imagining
mind?
ahead. Yeah, she was actually supposed to sing that part. So it
Margot
would have
Kidder?
been it would have been a musical.
thank goodness for that.
See, that would have been even more comedic. That would have just been even sillier. Even as it is, it's kind of silly. I mean, it's flirty and it's fun and it's silly. I just think this movie is like 80% comedy. I think it's like mostly comedy. And even when I like think back like the Marlon Brando sequence where he's like, this planet's gonna explode, and they're like, we disagree with your conclusion. And then I guess hours later, the planet explodes and those people just all die. Just, oh shit, he was right. Man, I guess we should have left the planet. Even that's absurd.
Well, you know, I mean, we're kind of living that reality.
Oh,
right
I
now,
understand.
you know, like,
I get it. What I noticed this time more than any other is the Clark's trip from Krypton to Earth. There's all this dialogue that Marlon Brando's
Super
giving, like, it's
trippy.
like information. Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
trippy. The 6 known universes,
Yeah.
all with a different time. Like, whoa! I started to like pay attention, like there were early wars and stuff. Like, oh, wow, that backstory sounds kind of interesting to me. I kind of want to hear about the early universe and the Krypton's battles. You know, that sounds really fun. Yeah, it was really crazy stuff. That I had never really paid attention to what was being said as he careens through the universe. I'm not saying it's bad that it's funny, by the way. I want to make it very clear. It's refreshing how non-serious this movie was. It's very silly. I just think it's deeply silly and funny. And maybe that's because they were just emulating the comics and that's the tone. That's fine. Comics have changed since the 60s and 70s and gotten edgier and darker and tried to do that stuff. I enjoyed how silly it
there's
was.
no longer the comic book code of authority that kind of monitored how dark comic books could get.
Sure. And I think you know more about comic. I mean, I've had a little phase of comics, but not much. So I don't even really know where Superman was at in the 70s. But I mean, they have fun with how cornball he is. That's part of his appeal is Clark Kent shows up and he's just this like 1950s office worker.
So
in this, like,
that was the
fast-paced-
question I had is like, but like, how do we get from Kansas dad dying? Because he's like, I'm gonna leave. He tells his mom. She's like, where will you go? He's like, I don't know. Like, what does he do between?
He goes to the Fortress of Solitude for 12 years and he learns about humanity.
Okay. And then he goes like, I'll just be a reporter in New York, basically. I mean, I know
Yeah.
it's not New York, but
It is New York. We see the Statue of Liberty. I know they call it Metropolis, but we literally see the Statue of Liberty.
right. Yeah. I just like, how does did he go to college? How does he have money? Like, he just shows up at the Daily Planet and is like, I'll take a job here now.
Yeah, he can
Does he have
type
a
really
resume?
fast.
Does he have a resume?
Apparently, he
What's-
just typed real fast and impressed the editor. That was enough. They didn't really give much reason as why they hired him, other than he was a
Just a
fast typist.
Tall man.
Yeah, white man.
But I think actually, I was kind of blown away by Christopher Reeve in this movie. Like, I think he does an amazing job. He is the perfect Superman. And what he does with Clark when he's Clark Kent, he's like sort of slouched over, and he's got his like bad posture, and then all of a sudden when Superman kicks in, he's like standing up straight, and his whole physique changes almost, which is I think pretty good acting.
Yeah, Yeah, that was a good spot when he talks to Lois and he almost admits to being Superman at that point in her apartment.
Right.
He kind of does that change. And that's why I think he's the best Clark Kent of all the Supermans out there.
Too bad we never got the Nick Cage version.
we
Well, we did actually.
We get the CGI Nick Cage version. Yeah.
Was that in the Flash?
Flash,
movie?
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
No, that is a silly comic book movie.
Yeah, no kidding. So, did you like this movie, Kevin?
I love this movie.
Okay, all right,
I would say as a child, this was probably my favorite movie. And I watched the TV edit, which I learned was actually longer than the movie edit. So there's like bits
that was definitely the version I saw was the TV edit.
Yeah. So I watched it on cable all the time. But it had been a while. So I can't remember the last time I watched this movie. But I remembered a ton of it.
Yeah, same here.
Still was with me.
So this Superman 2, isn't there some controversy? Isn't there like a Donner cut that's supposed to be better than the...
Yeah, Richard Donner had filmed about 75% of what would turn out to be Superman 2. They were supposed to film both parts together, but then he got fired. And they had Richard Lester finish.
So I got to check out. The Donner cut's apparently supposed to be like a lot better.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's just really. I mean, I guess it's 2006, but it was a long time after it came out. I think, from what I understand, the Lester version is a lot sillier. He plays into the goofiness even more, and Donner's was a little more subdued. I mean, not completely subdued, but a little bit more subdued. But I don't think I've seen Superman 2 in even longer than I've seen Superman 1. So I think I'm going to rewatch Superman 2. I guess the Lester cut is on Max. There we go. Yeah. I'll watch that and see if I can see the Donner cut. Because no. Yeah, I mean, you can get sillier. And I have you guys seen 3 or 4?
Oh yeah,
I know it gets even
Richard
goofier.
Pryor's in 3.
Richard Pryor's in 3, and then the Quest for Peace is 4.
That's the like lightning guy, right?
Yeah.
Or
They make an
radiation
atomic
guy?
version of him. Yeah, I've seen 4. I've never seen 3. I only know about 3 because of Office Space, because they reference the plot of.
Yeah,
Superman.
3's entertaining because of Richard Pryor, and the scheme is become really famous.
You can buy the Donner cut for $10
Okay,
in 4K.
that might be $10 well spent.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I think it's a good movie. Really enjoyed it. Like, what do you guys think about the Superman movie that's coming out? So I heard a couple rumors. One is that it's like not very good. I think they did a test screening and it was negative. And the other is that Tom Cruise might be in it.
What?
That he might be playing Jor-El, playing Superman's dad.
So he's the new Marlon Brando, is what you're saying.
Yeah. The movie's going to open on Tom Cruise, giving a big old speech. I think the opening of this movie's awesome. I think the Brando stuff's fucking awesome. Like,
No, it's very weird, and I'm glad
so
they put it in.
Yeah, he's got
It is
that
really
majestic white hair.
yeah. Apparently he was paid like $3 million and then got like 10% of all the like proceeds on the movie.
Yeah, he ended up getting like $19 million for like 2 weeks of work.
Right. And he wouldn't learn the lines, so they had to like write the dialogue on cue cards and stuff. Like,
and like on the baby's diaper. They actually wrote.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a super annoyed Marlon Brando putting on the stupid aluminum foil and just being like, "Oh, this is so fucking stupid. Why am I doing this? Oh, I'm getting paid a shitload of money. That's why." Just being so annoyed the whole fucking time, and still giving a great performance. But I'm just sure he hated this. making it. So
Well,
I
he
guess
doesn't even say Krypton right. He calls it Krypton.
Krypton.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a very like 50s Brando way of saying it. It's true. But it's just goofy. Like when you get introduced to this world you know nothing about, really. I mean, if you're like not a comic book fan, you're just like, here's some other planet. It's about to blow up. These goofy people are having weird arguments here. 3 people were going to put in some jail, I guess. We don't, they don't explain what the square is. I know it's the Phantom Zone, but like if you're just watching that, like these people get absorbed and they're like, sorry, we never see this.
That was my point
again.
about like all of this stuff with like how I know all of this stuff. How do I know these things? I didn't read Superman comics. Like,
well, if you saw Superman 2, you learned what the Phantom Zone was. That's how I know about it.
Like
They talk about it.
But like Kryptonite, right? This movie, the whole plot point where Lex Luthor's somehow learns that the some from the planet landed on Earth, and it's called a kryptonite. I don't know how he knows that, and that all of a sudden he knows that it's going to weaken Superman. Again, don't know how he knows any of this.
Yeah, he has no reason to know any of this,
right?
Other than he pretends to be super smart.
But that we're supposed to know that too. Is like, oh, if he opens that box, kryptonite's going to make him weak. Like, how do I know that? Like, how would anybody know that who's never seen a comic or whatever? Like, it's weird. It's just like there's assumed stuff about Superman. Don't know where it came from.
This is one of those metaphors that like it had escape velocity. Like, oh, Superman's weak to kryptonite, and it's like a metaphor that you can use about anything. Like, this is so and so's kryptonite. It can be whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just super well known, and everybody understands the metaphor.
But did it come from this movie? I guess that's my question. Is like, do we all have all of this knowledge about Superman and like kryptonite and fucking Lex Luthor because of this movie or the sequel? I guess. But
well, what about the cartoons you watched from the 40s?
Maybe that's where I learned it. But how many fucking people have ever seen those cartoons? Like, nobody. I'm saying we as a culture, like.
Well, there's been tons. So there were 4 Superman movies. We had the Adventures of Lois and Clark in the 90s, the Dean Cain one. We've
Smallville.
But all of that stems from this, like it all branches off from this movie.
But it's just like, it's spread. Yeah, maybe from this movie, sure. And then we've had, I don't know, however many Superman movies we've had since, 3 or 4 in the 2000s, maybe 4 or 5. I mean, how you count Justice League.
I guess my point is, like, I don't think you can overstate how, like, influential this movie really is.
This movie is, this is
on superhero movies, but just on the fucking Superman, like,
this is a
the history of Superman.
Yeah. And Superman movies, and absolutely. No denying it's important.
It's become iconic.
Important art, Ben. It's not a comedy. This should be in the fucking loop.
Comedies can be important art. I guess if you think comedy somehow means bad in your head, that's fine. That's cool if that's what you think. But like, I can't watch Lex Luthor be like, only I can stop these missiles with my detonator. Well, I'll get that detonator, Mr. Lex Luthor, and not think that's inherently goofy as hell.
Well, like the scene with
you thought you could trick me with lead.
With the ladder is like ladder, and he's like hanging there with the ladder
and
thing. It's
nincompoop, Neanderthal, nuts. Yeah, it's just pure goofy.
Ned Beatty's like a pretty accomplished actor from Network and all that shit. Like,
he did Deliverance earlier.
And then he's being just goofy as hell, repeating everything that Lex Luthor says. Because apparently Lex Luthor repeats himself a lot, so he knows all of Lex Luthor's speeches. What's the range of kryptonite? How close does Superman have to be before, like, when kryptonite will start impacting him? Do we know?
Good question.
I think it has to be. It has to be in his vicinity.
Yeah, line of sight, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, he gets the kryptonite out, and then Superman just goes like this. And he doesn't like run the opposite direction or anything. He's just powerless because he's too close to it. And I just like, okay.
Well, as soon as she takes the chain off, he's like, all right, I'm good. I'll fly out of here.
Right. Because we need him to just instantly be better instead of having him, run away when he could have.
Why don't you have a bathtub like that in your house? or a pool. Is it a pool? Or
How
a
do you
tub?
know he doesn't have one?
I suppose you might.
Yeah, I dug out the under the basement. It's like an old abandoned train station. It's looks cool.
What
I don't
does
know
he
how
say?
he
Like
built it.
everybody's wasting money buying real estate above ground. I own everything below ground. It's
Yeah,
all right.
Park Avenue, baby.
Great plan, guy.
Right, it's goofy. He's living. He has to get there. He has to like go across a rail line and go through like secret switches. How did he build it? Did he hardwire into the electricity? Does the city
Well,
not
I
know?
think that was more of a way to kind of shake the cops. Is why he was doing that roundabout.
He has another entrance. You think that's less?
Yeah, he's got to have
cumbersome?
another entrance. Yeah.
Okay, maybe. Still goofy. Like, who built this? Did you hire people and kill them? Like,
Yeah. Is he squatting? Does he even actually really own any
I'm
of
sure
that?
he is squatting. I don't think
Yeah.
he owns anything, and these people just don't know it's there. It's goofy. He's a goofy villain. Yeah, and that you say, Kevin, Gene Hackman didn't want to shave his head because at that point he's a big star, and he's like, I'm not going to shave my
Oscar
head for this
winner
stupid
already,
role. Yeah, I don't. I that's beneath me. This tripe. So he has to wear wigs the whole time.
They
And we
make
just
it
get the
look
bald
like he
reveal.
wears wigs, yeah. And then he wears the bald cap at the very end. Because I'm Lex Luthor. And he has to prove that he's Lex Luthor by showing that he's bald.
And does anybody know who he is at this point? And but like he gets in trouble for stealing the nuclear weapons or whatever, adjusting their trajectory. Did anybody know who he was before that, or was he just some like stunted genius who's pissed off?
Well, the cops were onto them, so there
Oh
must
yeah,
be
the big
some
guy.
reason.
You're right.
Yeah, they were trying to tail him. They were trying to find him.
And even the way that cop dies was goofy. He seemed to like throw himself in front of the train. I know he was ostensibly supposed to be pushed, but it looked like he jumped. Anyway,
Well, yeah, I mean, the actor who did the move actually had to jump. He wasn't actually thrown from the wall.
it's fine. It just looks silly. I none of this is a problem. Comedies are important. And I like how different it is in a lot of ways, how slow and silly this movie is, because superhero wouldn't get made like this today. It just wouldn't happen where you get what I would call sort of two action sequences, and even the action is him just really solving natural disasters, a plane struck by lightning, a helicopter that's starting to spin out of control, a guy robbing jewels with the suction cups on the side of the building. He just shows up. Next, what's wrong with the elevator? I mean, it's silly. But that's what made it work for me, is how silly it was. I didn't want it to be serious. We have tons of big robot fights at the end of movies. They're all kind of boring these days. This was something totally different.
So I hired Ben Lewis and Kevin to make the new Superman movie. Like, what do you do? What's the movie? Like, do you go back again and back on Krypton, and the planet's going to be destroyed?
Well, like you said, everybody knows the story of Kryptonite and Krypton. The whole backstory has already been done many times. I would try to forego that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, because like the Iowa guy, right? What, Brandon
Rouse, I think.
Right. That movie just starts. He's just like, Superman's back. He left and now he's back, and it's just now a Superman story.
Yeah, he
They
even
don't
has
really
a kid in
explain
that
it.
movie. Like, he's already had a kid with Lois. Like, he's all had a
Right.
bunch of shit.
But that movie didn't work. That was not good.
Well, no, but what I would try to do is get us without the backstory, and you'd have to do it a little faster. I try to get as close to this aesthetic as possible. Superman is just a good guy. He saves everybody. He saves you whether you're a MAGA or whatever. He doesn't care. I'd have him saving people in MAGA hats. I'd have him saving people with blue hair who are non-binary. He saves everybody. And everybody wants to peg him as this cynical Homelander type, but he's really just an earnest good guy who wants to save people. and people can't believe it because everybody's so cynical. I would try to get as close to this aesthetic as you can. He's just an honest to goodness good guy who cares about everybody.
And then, but also a guy that wants to hijack missiles and start a
sure. Well, the villain part. I mean, I don't know if you do Lex Luthor. The problem is the second you do any kind of villain, then half the country will think you're an asshole. So you could do Lex Luthor, maybe.
Do you do
make
Luthor
it a robot,
as
make
like
it AI, make us that the enemy?
He's a former real estate developer running for president, something like that.
I probably wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't have him be some weird.
It's kind of what he is in this movie, isn't he? I
wouldn't have him be a tech guy that makes really cool cars that are cyber cars. No, I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably make the villain like an artificial intelligence, and it's literally the Superman versus AI that's trying to drive humanity apart. It's what I'd probably try to do, and try to avoid the cynicism and make it as earnest as possible. I don't know if that would sell, but that's what I try to do. I mean, I think that's what would probably play better. We've already had a bunch of cynical, standoffish Superman. I mean, we've already had Man of Steel and Superman v Batman and Justice League, and we've had the dark, edgy version of Superman. I would try to go back to this aesthetic. Make him a goofball. Make him earnest.
Yeah, cornball him up.
Yeah.
I think you gotta do more Clark Kent. It's gotta be mostly Clark Kent. Like where he doesn't want to be Superman, or like, he doesn't, he wants to solve problems as Clark Kent or something like that. Like an identity crisis, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I like him wanting to be Superman. I don't know. I don't know that I want a reluctant hero. But whatever, none of this matters. Nobody's asking for us to make him Superman.
We'll see soon. Like, in a few months, we'll see it.
But that's what works, is how earnest it is. And it's bright, colored. It's not technically Technicolor, but it's so bright looking.
Like a comic book.
Yeah. And it's fun. And the cynical reporter is won over literally. Like at first she's like, who says swell? And she ends up, anyway. It's campy. It's silly. There's just enough dramatic stuff. Just the bare minimum. Like we get a dad dying from a heart attack. All of a sudden, I like how just all of a sudden the heart attack was jogging up the driveway, goes like this and just says, oh no, and then collapses. Wasn't overstated. And we get Lois Lane. A horrific death, by the way.
What'd you guys think of the teenage Superman, Clark Kent, I guess?
It's one of those like, why didn't we just do Reeves?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand.
Because that guy looked old too.
Yeah.
He looked like he was 30 as well.
I read it's apparently they spent a lot of time on like makeup and
the
like
prosthetic nose. Yeah.
Yeah. To make him look more like Reeves. Like, just have Reeves do it. Like,
and they even voiced over the actor anyway.
Yeah.
I want to know, where did that football land that he kicked? Did it like break somebody's window or kill somebody?
He killed somebody, Ben.
Well, it's a football. He just kicked it. He's fucking Superman.
It's in outer space.
So it's floating around. There's just a football in the air. It's in orbit now. Okay. It looked to me like it was going to land somewhere, and if it hit somebody, okay. I do think it would be fatal. I understand that they don't want that to be in the movie, which is why they don't bother. I thought we were going to see where the football landed, and then didn't, and we cut away to him running by the train.
Well, see, that's why like the Homelander thing's so interesting. Is like, what if he was a fucking asshole? You know what I mean? What if this strongest being we've ever had on the planet is like a piece of shit? I think that's why that works so well.
Well, right, but we have that. Like, I wouldn't try to do anything like that. Like,
it is interesting that Superman's dad like teaches him not to be like one of the people, not like be a god, because he is a god. I think Lois even mentions that.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's why I have to be Clark Kent, because my dad said I shouldn't, change human history, or I shouldn't interfere with human life. Like, I think that would be interesting.
Well, yeah, the
Instead,
figuring
he's
out
like,
how
"Hey,
and
this
when
is
to,
fun. Like flying around doing shit. Like I'd rather do this."
I could score a touchdown every play. I could be the
Yeah.
highest paid football player in the history of the world. Get every record.
That would be amazing use of his powers.
Yeah, not silly at all.
Yeah, she's like, hike.
No, but that's the thing. He would have to decide, how do I use my powers? What do I use them for? How do I respect the autonomy of governments? But should I get involved with shitty governments? Should I get involved with stopping Al Qaeda?
Yeah, if you
What about
if you
when the
go
U.S.
help,
is doing fucked up shit? Should I get involved
you
with
go
that?
help you go help Ukraine right now. I mean, the White House, you'd be like, you're not doing
Superman's a
what we want.
terrorist.
Yeah,
Look at that. He's not respecting my wishes. That's another cynical way you get it. He tries to help, and then everybody's like, fuck you, and he's politicized everything he does. So that's why he just says fuck it and leaves. You could make an even more cynical version where he's an earnest good guy, but the world is so fucked up that everybody just doesn't believe it.
I think that'd be interesting.
You can go that route too.
It's like the Watchmen.
Sure.
Yeah, that was in there somewhere, right? In the Watchmen.
Like, will they get mad at me if I stop the bombing of Hamas? What do I do about that? How do I solve that problem? Should I get rid of all guns? Boy, conservatives.
Well,
the
Watchmen win the Vietnam War, yeah, and Nixon stays in power.
Right.
That's not the history that we'd like.
Yeah.
Right. And I know there's, you'll probably know wasn't there, Kevin, a version of like a what if where instead of landing in Kansas, he lands in like Soviet era Russia?
Mm-hmm.
And becomes
It's like Red Superman or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know?
And he just imposes communism everywhere.
Good thing he didn't land in Iowa, right?
I guess. Basically Kansas, I think, in some ways, but fair enough.
No, he learned those good Midwestern values. And
right. He doesn't showboat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and this is because doesn't Superman get rid of all the nuclear weapons in the fourth one? Isn't that the quest for peace? See, that's like an interest like that. I don't think they did anything interesting with it in the movie, but like that's an interesting. He could say, you know what? I don't think the human race should be able to blow themselves up, so I am going to get rid of every single nuclear weapon. And then governments are pissed at him for it. But like that's interesting. Should he do that? I don't know. A lot of moral quandaries.
He doesn't think we should use AI, so he's going to go destroy all the AI servers or something.
Sure.
What if he's wrong?
Well, what if? That's the whole thing.
And isn't that what teaches him everything? His dad's AI?
How were they Krypton so involved, but they couldn't tell that their planet was about to blow up?
No, they knew. Remember the one guy was like, we know he's right. His numbers are right.
But then he says his conclusions are wrong.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that, but
like, it's time for us to die. I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think
either.
they all accepted that they were going to die. That it was time for the planet to be destroyed.
Okay, they're like, we've had our run. It's been
because they could all have left planet like the baby did. There's no reason why they couldn't all have just like. But he's like, I will accept your rule, and I won't leave the planet or something like that, right? Doesn't he?
Yeah.
But then he decides to
says neither
baby.
my wife and I will try to leave the planet.
Right? Yeah, he gives it like really specific, like didn't say I wouldn't send my kid.
Right.
My naked boy.
Through the stars. On this 2001 monolith journey.
Do you think there's so there's like a 50-something-year-old man that was that boy in the movie that was just full on naked?
Yep. That's right, Eric.
So he's like, that's me when I was a little kid. That's funny.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
There's some guy out there. It's like,
well, they know, like, was it the cover of Nevermind, right? With the baby swimming. They know who that kid is, and he's like, "Oh, baby for Nirvana video is 30 now, or whatever." Like, sure, it'd be weird.
I mean, that's like, it's like child abuse. When your kid straight naked in a movie like that.
Maybe.
The second biggest movie of the year. The most expensive movie ever made at the time.
We couldn't afford pants for the little kid.
Wasn't in
No,
the
it's
budget.
like they must have had a discussion. Like, should he be naked? No, yeah, like, I think we should. That's for artistic reasons. I think
he was a
this little
baby. He was a baby in the ship. They didn't
Yes.
give him clothes.
Well,
Did
doesn't he,
Superman-
when he lifts the car, isn't he wearing some sort of thing around his? He's not naked then, right?
Right.
They
The
put
mom
something
had
on him.
the mom had tied up whatever clothes.
Just
he
do that
had.
immediately. Why do we need to see him naked yet? Like, just have her run over and wrap something around him. I don't know.
It was the 70s. People didn't care that much.
Just free love, huh?
That's right. It was just a little kid.
We spent too much time talking about the naked little boy.
You brought it back up.
Yeah,
You're thinking
I shouldn't
about
have.
it.
It's a mistake. It's an error,
Unforced error.
unforced error. Yeah. I give this 4.5 stars
Why not
I really-
5? My God.
because I think some of the weird like comedy beats. You're right. I honestly I had it at 5 and I was like, this isn't perfect. It's not a perfect movie, but 4.5 because I really did like it. I really did enjoy it.
I think it's where I'm at. I flirt between a 4 and a 4.5. I really do feel like it's too much setup and it's not self-contained enough, but I think I bump it up to 4.5. I mean, I think it's excellent. It's not perfect either.
We haven't really talked about special effects, like not
I
just
love
like the him flying, but like when he plugs up the dam that breaks, like the rocks and like all the models. I think it's just I miss. We should go back to just models and
Models, hell yes, please, yes. The special effects are one of the major pluses of this. I'll take.
Yeah,
Practical
they still
effects.
hold up 40 or some years later.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll say this, Eric. I'll take practical effects any day of the week and twice on Sunday. That's what I'll
twice
tell
on
you.
Sunday. All right, perfect.
No, it's
Is it
it's
5
terrific.
for you, Kevin?
It is
5
it is a 5-star
5-star
banger
banger?
for me.
All right.
I can't hide it. I can't hold it back. It's the movie's too iconic. And it is interesting that there's like 4 acts. It goes from Krypton to Smallville, Metropolis, and then the end stage. So yeah, there is 2 setups. Is that why you think it's kind of slow? Because of the Krypton to Smallville?
I mean, it is slow. We've spent 20 minutes probably, or 15, 20 minutes on Krypton. And then another, 30 minutes in Smallville where we get this teenage years where we get him. I guess he's a teenager who is like cleaning everything for the football team.
He's
I
equipment manager.
guess. Trying to get his best gal.
Yeah,
It
I
just
thought
takes
that
its
part
time.
was compelling. I thought it was interesting what you'd wrestle with, being superior to everybody in every way, but yet you have to kind of hide it for whatever reason.
Yeah, slow isn't pejorative to me. By the way, I want to make it very clear. I know if Eric says it's slow, that means bad. Slow is bad. No, we don't like slow. Ick. Slow isn't a problem for me. It takes its sweet time. I wasn't bored or annoyed. It just takes its time.
Yeah,
I don't think most modern movies would take so long to get to anything even resembling an action sequence. I mean, the first time we really get him using his powers, other than like the lifting the car as the kid and then him out racing the train, kicking the football, is when he catches a bullet and he has to act scared of the mugger. And again, it's just a goofy scene. There's a guy in an alleyway, come here, and it's goofy. And then he has to act like he fainted. It just takes its time. It's not a problem. It's just it is slow. It takes its time. I enjoy it. I enjoy a slower paced superhero movie that just revels in the character in a way that we don't. I mean, it's really focused on his backstory. I like it. I just think it is slow. I don't think modern audiences will be able to tolerate how long it takes to do anything at all kinetic in this movie.
Well, we spent a lot of time in the newsroom too. Like there's, he's starting the job, she's pitching the one story. Like there's a lot of back and forth in the newsroom.
That montage where he starts saving everybody is like got to be like an hour and a half, hour 45 in the movie. It is. Yeah. It takes a minutes. Long time. Yeah, somewhere in there. It's again not a problem. I like,
and that's the first time we see the Superman cape and the
you see it briefly outfit. When he leaves the Fortress of Solitude, but not like in focus. True.
Yeah, that's
but we do get the famous ripping open underneath, which Spider-Man used. I mean, there's like oh yeah, Spider-Man did this kind of shot. Spider-Man did like the saving of the helicopter stuff. I mean, you can just see like, oh yeah, we're projecting stuff's gonna.
The Raimi Spider-Man's pretty goofy.
It is. It is goofy. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely.
Is that
goofy.
A comedy too? Like
kind of. Oh, it's got comedic elements. It's closer to a cartoon in a lot of ways, I think. But he throws some horror elements that aren't there. But anyway, that's a different discussion.
Well, it's funny because Donner was a horror guy because his movie Omen was the movie he made before this.
Oh, see, I didn't know. He did the original Omen. Oh, that's good. That movie freaked me out a long time ago when I watched it. Especially the second one. But it just takes the time. And then even then, the action is just him saving random people. Stopping a random crime. Like, and the like robbers who are like getting on the boat. And then one guy tries to hit him with the thing and, just gets hit with the vibrations from the recoil or whatever.
Yeah, bad vibrations. And then he flies away.
Yeah, he arrests the guy, brings the whole boat to the police station. It's just a slow paced movie. Slow does not equal bad. It can, but in this case, it was great. So no, I just think it wasn't quite complete. It felt incomplete. It felt not quite like a closed loop. It's probably
and I think that's because it was supposed to be a two-parter,
right?
And I think there was actually the original ending was going to be a cliffhanger. About whether he saves Lois or not, and all that is, and the end sequence actually starts off the Superman 2. This was the original plan.
Did they come out like back to back? I guess I don't even.
I think it came out 2 years later. Yeah.
Okay.
Superman.
But a lot of it was shot at the same time, though. I mean, a lot.
Superman 2 was the first movie I saw in the theater. 1980.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, yeah, 1980.
Wow. That's awesome.
I remember it because that was like the biggest room I'd ever been in up until that point in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Is that the one where he loses his powers? Doesn't he lose his powers in 2?
Yeah. That's how he defeats the...
That's Spider-Man 2. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's exactly Spider-Man 2. Okay.
Yeah, he just ripped off these 2 movies, basically.
He must have.
This is a good idea.
God, and I do want to point, like, Lois's death is also super horrifying. It's like one of the few, like, this is not goofy. This is awful. Like, she gets stuck through like a fault line or fissure or whatever and starts to get buried alive.
Slowly.
Like struggling to breathe. That was really horrifying in the midst of everything. Like, oh boy. That was brutal.
Well, and I remember the scream that Superman makes, like when he finds out she dies and he flies out, he's like, ah, and it like echoes like that. That is like ingrained in my brain, that cause it just must have had such a huge impact on me seeing that for the first time.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Cool. Well, that's all I got on Superman. Check it out.
Heck yeah.
What are we watching next?
Is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, this movie, we're not traveling too far in time. I'm going to 1986.
Okay.
And this movie is directed by something called Dave Anspaugh. David Anspaugh.
Oh, there went my guess of Platoon. Okay.
Oh, that's Oliver Stone. Is that?
Yeah.
1986. Stars one Dennis Hopper. Barbara Hershey.
Is this the sequel to Easy Rider?
No.
He dies in that. What am I talking about? They
Yeah.
did make one. Okay.
They did make a sequel to Easy Rider, I think. I think it was done by non-Peter Fonda guy.
All right. I am flummoxed.
Let's see what. It was released in some countries as Best Shot. Alternate name, Best Shot.
I don't know.
It's a sports drama film, according to Wikipedia.
Was it Hoosiers?
Yes, Hoosiers.
Oh,
Another
Okay,
Gene
Marsh.
Hackman joint.
well, yeah. We didn't really talk much Gene Hackman, but yeah, basketball movie. We got March Madness coming on.
Yep, that's right.
Very cool.
I have never seen it, so
Oh, wow. Okay.
be a first for me.
I remember the first time I watched this. My traveling team, we were playing for the Minnesota State Championship, and we watched
Oh, no
the
way.
night before. Yeah,
Did it?
Did you-
we did.
Did you
We
win?
ended up winning. Yeah, we did.
Wow.
Look at that.
This is
Did you
sixth
write-
grade, fifth, sixth grade, something like that. Okay.
Did you write a thank you
Exactly.
note to the director?
Did not. No,
Okay.
we just kind of made fun of it the whole time because it's
Oh.
you know,
Too campy, too cornball.
yeah.
You're too cool.
A lot of alcoholism in this, if I remember right. Isn't there a lot of
And some
drinking?
really, really short shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
When's it supposed to take place?
I have no idea.
1951.
Okay.
So yeah, shorts were real short back then.
Okay. Is it streaming anywhere?
I don't know. Sorry, I didn't look that up.
You're fine. All good. All right, then. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back in a couple weeks to talk.
That's my nerd.